Best guy, yeah. That was nice. I love the background. Yeah, nice. How do you like my Black Clover shirt? So, do another, of course, snowman video today, guys. Of course, you know, Raul is my boy, man. He's my favorite, you know that. But also, of course, I have heard, right, obviously stories and grandeur from snowman before. And last week, when I did my first take reaction, right, I was like, I couldn't find this shirt, okay? It's beautiful, you can see it here, right? I love the shirt, I made it myself because, you know, it's like half here, right? When Asta Liebe transforms, right? So when I brag a little bit with my shirt, right? No, I don't actually know who makes Black Clover opening. They're coming out next month. But that actually could be Snowman, right? That would be badass, yeah. Leave a comment below if you know who's doing it. But obviously, overall, right, Black Clover has incredible openings, both musically and, of course, visually as well. And that's also why we're here, guys, because I want to see now, right? I want to see Snowman, I want to see the dance, man, okay? First take was great, right? They had great personalities, but I want to see them actually doing the dance move. So let's go. I'm here for the dance move, you know. Yeah, I'm really loving it, so you can't take it from me. I need to buy it.
Let's get started. Come on, everybody, take you higher. Dancing dynamite, for dynamite. Hey, you let me go. Hey, you let me go.
Going into it, so I'm pausing already. But you know who I am. I'm an artist, guys, okay? Talk about that a lot in my previous K-pop reactions, right? You know, I said immediately, guys, I love all the visuals. Before you get into the song, right, so much stuff is happening. So we're gonna break it down later. But yeah, I love it immediately. So much explosions, man. Cool moves, obviously best. Yeah, so anyway.
You know this totally. Somewhere we'll never get in. No matter what happens, you better never fool your world. Just thinking how this shines, 이 너의 몸. 기도고 다와 이쯤 keep me. 나도 morning I look. Get loud, listen to world. Don't be now be close.
You know, one thing that I think about immediately is a lot of posing. It's very Bishonen, of course. It is very, very Bishonen, obviously. But I do think that one thing that sticks out to me, right? I'm thinking about, like, kind of where I'm from, like Swedish J-pop or whatever. It's a big Swedish pop, right? They don't have that much dancing either, for that matter. But one thing I think about here, yeah, it's a lot of this, right? I mean, I like it. I think it's pretty cool. But I think this is something that's very, like, keen, right? In a little bit of Japanese storytelling, where I feel like in the West, especially like Sweden, you just kind of roll it over it. But in Japan, it's very much like kind of like, yeah, here I am. You know, it's a lot more like, yeah, I'm fabulous, which I really enjoy, right? And of course, in lack of argument, it obviously reminds me a lot of anime, right? But I think that it's such a very clear thing. If you go back to, for example, the 90s, and you compare something like, well, Spider-Man behind me, X-Men even more so, Avengers or whatever, with anime in those days, right? Because, for example, then, those shows, right, mostly of them have just like, here's a bunch of character, like Spider-Man has, it's like, it's a bunch of fighting, you know, it's like explosions or whatever, right? And sure, you kind of show when the character jumping in, but you're not really posing with them, right? But if you take an anime at that time, right, like a Japanese culture stuff in the 90s, they would very much be like, yeah, I'm this character, yeah, I'm Slayer Lee. Like, it's very much like, I'm the purple man. Yeah, they very much have this, like, they're coming in and doing a cool pose, rather, right? I guess X-Men is the one that is mostly for Japanese, right? But they also had a specific Japanese opening for X-Men, though, so that explains me perhaps. But that one is more like, you know, Wolverine. Yeah, it's more like a posing of the characters more. But I think this to me, yeah, it's great. But I think this is also one way, right? Why Japanese, not just, of course, boy idol groups, but also, of course, female as well, idol girls, you kind of feel more, I guess, connection with the character, with the personality, right? Who they're playing as, or who they are, or whatever. You feel they come off more as kind of like, I mean, like a storyline personality that I feel more, right? Rather, which I think is really nice, and it shows you. And I do think that K-pop does it also a lot as well, right? So it feels more East Asian overall. I don't think we do it as much in like in Europe and America when it keeps going, but shoot on, man.
Keep running to new world. My heart is no room. You can we are. 君のもとへ Banging banging いいね Dancing dynamite oh dynamite 君と shake the world トータの先にある未来へ Two steps forward one step back day by day by day Two steps forward two steps back so it's up to you Dancing dynamite
I like it, like 2 steps back, and that was nice. It was Go ahead and watch this bit, go ahead and watch it, even if Raul was in the middle there, of course. Go ahead and watch this dance bit again, right? So first of all, I said it in my first video, right? I was like, man, Raul is the best member, right? Maybe I get some hate now, but you know it is, when you look at an idol group, you have to have your favorite, right? And I'm like, I got my favorite now, and I'm not gonna change my mind! You know what I mean? And you have to be like a hardcore fan, you know? You have to be like, you know, come on, have you, this is a genuine question, okay? This is a very, very, honestly, genuine question now. Because obviously I watched a bunch of idol groups over the years, right, or whatever. And also, of course, you know, in whatever storyline movies and whatever, right, animes or what. I can't remember, honestly, guys, I can't remember the last time that I changed my mind on who I like in a group, okay? Like, I'm just I see Raul here, he's in the middle. I'm like, it's my boy, you know. I just feel like I'm gonna change my mind, you know. Like, have you like started out with Snowman, and then you change your opinion who's your favorite person is? Doesn't mean I can't love more than one person, right? Just like I can have more than one wife, you know what I mean? Yeah, I can love more than one person, right? But I have to admit that for me, it's kind of like, you know, I see the performance right the first time, and the first take in my case, then, but whatever, right? And then I'm like, this is my favorite person, right? And I'm like, this is the guy I love now, and I probably will never change that. Doesn't mean that I can't like the other person too, right? But I just feel like he's probably also my favorite now. I just know myself that I'm like, no, I've decided now he's my favorite person, and I probably will never change my mind. Like I'm like a hard, you know, hardcore fan, that's what we call it. Right? Yeah, like, this is how it works, you know. I cannot bend over that. It's like this is always my structure of my mindset. I don't know, but I don't think I ever have changed my mind. Almost never with anything. And like I said, I feel the same thing with like I don't know. Okay, give you an example. Zombieland Sega. Okay, I love anime. Idol girl group anime, right? Saki, you know, number 2, obviously best girl, right? Best character, you know what I mean? The same thing there, it's like episode 1, Saki, best character, you know what I mean? Never change mind. This is how it works. You know, see any idol girl anime, I was like, that's the best. I mean, never ever change my mind. It doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. I don't know. I just cannot change my mind. I feel it now. Like, I mean, that's how I really feel there. I'm like, oh shit, he's the best. Right? Best guy, but he's just a jazz more a Greek or hardcore. That was nice. I love the background. Yeah, that was nice elevated backflip there. So yeah, I mean immediately, obviously, if you see my previous video, I'm coming in from like a first take reaction, right? Sure, I heard the band before in Clover, right? But I never had a face, you know, to the music, right? Even though, of course, I heard this. Obviously, I heard both Stars and Grandeur like 100 times because I listened to Black Clover, you know, opening so much times. I've obviously heard it so many times, but I never had, you know, like the visual who the people behind it, right? But yeah, this gives me such a different feeling, of course. I'm happy we do a video here because this is obviously so different, right, than what the first take is. And like I said last week, I like the first take. It has introduced me to a lot of really cool musicians. I really like that, and there've been many often that I then, you know, have shit out more music, right? Also be songs like whatever, but most of them I do enjoy and I get into it. But it certainly is a massive difference. Like, you know, first take is interesting because it's very clean. You're standing in this white thing, right? But it doesn't give you this the actual moment. It doesn't really the skill sets. I like to see it out. Yeah, it's much more acrobatic. Yeah, this here is much more acrobatic, right, than we usually see. You tend to see these dance, like, with either groups doing it, and they have some singing, whatever. But the boys here are doing a lot of more like jumping and throwing each other, and it's definitely interesting in that sense. Much more dynamic. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, I always love the background though. If you haven't realized, I'm an old, Japanese kung fu master. No, but always I like martial art. So the reason I have one Hayori on me, right? And I've been training martial art my whole life, right? Mostly than Japanese styles, but also a lot of taekwondo and so on. And this is one of the coolest, classic martial arts in movies, right? When someone does like a backflip or someone, yeah. I mean, it's always been this really cool thing, I think, in a lot of, action movies, right? In typical East Asian, like kung fu movies, where, it's like two good guys, right? Like two cops or whatever, against all the bad guys, right? And then, the broing, and the one guy roasts the other guy to avoid an attack, right? This movie is like super iconic, I feel, in martial art movies. I really like that. My all-time favorite move, though, is obviously Onizuka's, right? It's German suplex. I hope you know what I'm talking about, but yeah, that's my favorite martial art move. Is of course German suplex. As a kid, I was reading, Grand Teacher Onizuka, right? Obviously the best manga of all time, and very early in the manga, right? Onizuka Sensei just German suplex on the principal. I was like, this is it. This is the ultimate martial art move. So when I was like 15, I was training this martial art called Taido, right? It's a Japanese martial art, and it's kind of different than, for example, Taijutsu or whatever, right? And so on, and whatever, so on. Taido, it's very acrobatic, okay? And not to be that guy, but the martial itself is not affected then, because it is very flashy, it's very acrobatic, but it is from an advantage, actually. So when I was 15, 16 and so on, I was training Taido like 4 times a week. I was doing this stuff all the time, honestly. I was like back rolling around, cartwheeling, back flipping, somersaults. That martial art is just pure flipping around, man. So it was really fun. You look really cool. Yeah, you look really cool. I wouldn't say it's very effective in an actual street fight, but it looks really cool at least. And at that time, then I was training a lot on suplexing people. That was my favorite move, the suplexing. Yeah, I was jumping around, suplexing people. But so it's like a lot of my time there. And at the same time, I was doing competitive taekwondo, so which from years before. So I was very good at jumping around, doing like kicks in the heads and so on. Yeah, double butterfly. Yeah, I like how they're much more acrobatic.
Dramatic na spectacle.
Very visual.
Dancing dynamite, all dynamite, let's sing it la la la. 衝撃を君のもとへ Banging banging いいね Dancing dynamite, all dynamite 君と shake the world トータの先にある未来へ Two steps forward, one step back Day by day by day Two steps forward, two steps back So it's up to you Dancing dynamite, all dynamite Hey you let me go
Det har även, det är som en other groups. Det har hänt även där. So he's the front runner. I really do feel that I fell in love with the front runner, right? Yeah, so you're in the middle there. But this ending here, I see there's a lot of other either groups too. This is this part here is a very common thing, right? And then they change the color like that. Yeah, that's a very, very common technique. You see it all the time. It's super iconic, I think. I've seen it in like 50 other music videos. This last bit, right? Yeah, all of them coming together and then like changing the camera or changing the angles, but also like a little bit darker and lighter and so on very quickly. I guess it's like a way to like, transition out, I guess, of the performance, right? So pretty common. Now, one thing I saw here. Yeah, so they also have a video of course, their dance performance, right? And I'm definitely seeing as well there. They tend to do. I think it's fun just seeing them. See how it's going up there. Yeah, it's kind of fun just getting in there with the face. So I guess they have those boxes in front of them when starting there. One thing I think immediately about though, again, a little maybe as a martial artist rather than a dance choreographer, but it certainly feels like a lot of the idol groups have a lot of members, right? Because it's much more dynamic and it looks better when you have more people, right? Like if you had a group of like 3 people, it wouldn't be as cool. You couldn't do these triangles, you couldn't do this form, right? You know, there's one thing a friend told me, actually about Black Clover, when I went to Black Clover, I think, with him. So I was working at this game company, this is like many years ago. And he asked me then for some anime recommendation. I know it's very anime, whatever, but you know, I'm a Japanese fanboy, right? And he asked me in a very funny way, and I kid you not, cause he asked me, okay, give me an anime where the characters are standing in a triangle, right? He's like, I want to see them in the opening in a triangle. And he looked at me and said, you know what I mean, because that's a good shonen anime, right? And I was like, I got you, bro. I know what you're talking about. I showed in the Black Clover opening with this, right? They're standing in a triangle, you know what I mean? And he's just like, yes, what is this anime? I'm like, it's Black Clover, bro. It's like really cool shonen anime. Because I like that Snowman song too, yeah, but I literally was like, Black Clover, bro, the triangle. And he was like, yeah, this looks like a cool shonen anime, I get what you mean, right? There is something is cool and dynamic. We have a bunch of people standing in like a triangle, looking cool, yeah, he's like, yeah, let's fight, you know. This is always gonna be to me what Japanese culture is, people standing in formation. This is what Japanese culture is to me. They're standing in a formation in a cool way, man, and posing. This is gonna be a good thing. It's gonna be a good thing, man. Yeah, it's like, it wouldn't be as cool and dynamic if you had way few members, right? I would've worked like good, right? I guess we can jump a little bit, sorry, but I wanna jump to the acrobatics, right? Because that's also a thing about too, that is also interesting, I think, visually, when you're doing acrobatic stuff, right? There's also a reason you have to have several members, right? Because they're doing this like a choreography together. So they need to have here, right? Together. Nice, man, it's nice. I'm an hour. Crazy. Cute how the camera shake there too. But yeah, how many hours did you train for this thing? Because yeah, they have a lot of members, right? So you can do all this cool stuff here. But this is also one reason why I'll just to be that guy, but why I think Japanese culture a lot too, because I feel a lot of it comes to musicians. I think everything that is like artistic in Japan, this is like super. I want to end the video on this weird part for some reason. But yeah, I mean, it's badass. And it takes a lot of members, it looks cool. But you really do wonder, right, how many hours they spent to train on this thing, which is like, yeah, which is really badass. Yeah, I really like this band. But yeah, there are a lot of members, right? You do really wonder how many hours they trained to perform the thing. But it looks really great, the great performance, and yeah, it really gave me another feeling, like I said earlier, having the music standing there. But to be fair, though, when you look at the first take, you kind of get a little more, maybe a bit of their like genuine, arguably personality a little bit, because they kind of have to like just sell themselves a little bit, right? Kind of be like, this is me, who I am. They have to present themselves a little more visually in that sense by more limited body language, right? Feels more like an interview, I suppose, a little bit here. I will say it's a little bit harder here, to be honest. To some extent, to kind of feel who the members are when you just kind of see them doing a lot of backflips together. I mean, it looks really cool, but it's a little bit harder now. If I saw this first, I probably feel I would maybe learn less about the people and so on. To some extent, right? Definitely. But anyway, love to get subscribed, like button if you more snowman stuff. Maybe they are the next Black Clover opening. That'll be perfect, man. I feels like this is like a Black Clover video now. But as I said earlier, genuinely, when my friend, the coworker, asked me, he is like, "Oh, recommend something to me." I was like, "Oh yeah, you need some information. I know what you want, man. A badass squad with cool characters in the formation, some cool dudes doing bar. I know what you want." So it has to be like that. Anyway, see you guys and have a great day.